Viewer discretion is advised. Viewer discretion is advised. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's going on, everybody? This is Andrew. Follow me on Instagram at Andrew the Filmmaker. Do not mind my hair. I just got out of the shower and I had to set up real quick so I could do this review for you real quick. So don't fucking judge me. I'm here to talk about Hereditary, which is the new horror movie that's sweeping the nation. This is the directorial debut of director Ari Aster, and talk about a frickin' debut, right? Film follows a family of four. It's the mom, who's Annie, played by Toni Collette, her husband Steve, which is played by Gabriel Byrne. Their preteen daughter Charlie, which is played by the adorable Millie Shapiro, and then their son Peter, who's played by Alex Wolff. Now, it's funny because when I was watching the movie, I was kind of like, why does the son look so fucking familiar? And then when I looked him up, I was like, oh shit, he's the younger brother of that other guy who was on that TV show on Nickelodeon back in the 2000s. You know what show I'm talking about? I didn't watch that shit, but I remember the show. I didn't watch the show, but I remember the show. I'm not going to say the name of the show because I thought it was fucking stupid, but anyway, I'm glad they moved on and matured to better things because his brother's been doing some movies too. He was in that Paper Towns, and now he just did Hereditary, and I'm going to get to the acting because the acting was so fucking good. Okay, so let's start off the movie. The mom, she's like one of those like model makers. She makes like all those like little scaled down version models and stuff, and she sells them, which I thought was really cool because I'm all into like the Limax and, you know, like the Studio, what is it, Studio 59 or something like that. You know, like the Halloween stuff, the Christmas towns and shit, and the little miniatures. I do that shit every year for holidays and stuff. So that was really cool. Like I could totally like vibe with that. And you know, she's making some money off of that because they try to sell you like $100 for a little fucking truck. You know, Limax is not cheap. That's why you gotta wait until like halfway through the month and buy that shit when it's 50% off at Michael's. Am I right? Right. But the scene's cool because it starts off with like one of her model houses, and this scene was so good. The camera like just zoomed in like really slowly into the house. So like picture like it's like me right now. It's like zooming into the house, and then the room that it zooms into turns out to be the son keep calling him Alex. His name is Alex. Peter's room. And then Peter was asleep and gets woken up. But that was cool how it transitioned from like a model house into like the actual family home. It starts off with Annie, her mom, Ellen. She was like the matriarch of the house. She passed away, so they're all getting ready for the funeral. So it already starts off with a dark tone. At the funeral, Annie gives a eulogy, and she was kind of like, you know, my mom was very secretive about her life, so it's kind of a shame for me to even be talking about her right now while she's passed away. You can just sense that there's definitely some family issues going on. And then Charlie, she goes up to the body, and I caught this scene. Charlie goes up to the body, the daughter, and then behind her, like, you know how like when you go to see the body, oh, it's terrible to say, when you go to a funeral and you're waiting to see the body, everyone's in line. There was a guy behind her that was like staring, and he was like smiling. He was like, you know, he was doing like he was giving me like serious Donald Glover face and fucking This Is America. He was all like, I caught that scene, but they didn't really talk about that much. Now, Charlie, her character had OCD because she would consistently do this. Like, she would do the Alyssa Edwards, you know? She'd be like, oh, hold on, let me get it going. She would, though, like, during the whole movie. That was just her thing. After, the funeral, you could tell, like, the family's really sad and stuff. The son's upstairs smoking pot. This boy was smoking pot, like, every other fucking scene in this movie. I swear to God, that boy was lit the fuck up. But Charlie's sad. She's laying in bed, and her mom comes up to her, and she's like, are you sad? It's okay. You can cry. She was like, you never cried when you were a baby, but you can cry now. It's totally fine. And Charlie was like, well, who's going to take care of me now? And the mom's like, bitch, like, I'm right here. What do you mean? I'm going to take care of you. Duh. Like, you got a family. Like, just because grandma's gone doesn't mean we're going to freaking ship you off to sea. And then she mentioned something. She's like, grandma always said she wished I was a boy. There's different things that you got to catch during the movie that'll make sense later. Kind of. So the father, Steve, he keeps getting calls from, it was like a week later, and then the graveyard calls him and says, oh yeah, your wife's mother's freaking gravestone her grave has been vandalized. Like, he doesn't tell his wife that. It was kind of weird. Like, he just kind of kept that from her. I guess because he thought she was in pain, he didn't want to, like, bring it up, so he was just trying to save her the pain. Annie, she's working on harmonics. She's got this room up in the house where she, like, works on all, like, the miniatures and shit. she looks in the corner, and then there's her mother. And I thought it was like one of them cardboard cutout Santas, you know what I'm talking about? The ones that just like, you put in your window to scare kids. No, that bitch was moving. So she was like an apparition, and it was really creepy. So she was like, oh my God, like, she goes up to her husband, like, I think I just saw my mother. I think I'm losing it. And he's like, yeah, I think you are too, bitch. And so then she ends up going to a support group. She never really did that before, so she was kind of skeptical. So she sits down, and she delivers this beautiful fucking monologue. Like, Toni Collette, holy shit, like, she was so good. Toni Collette was so good. And this was one of the scenes that was really good when she was talking about her family. She was talking about how her brother passed away because he was, like, schizophrenic, because he accused the mom of, like, frickin' having, like, control over his body, so he committed suicide. The mom, obviously, she had, I think, multiple personality disorder. And obviously she's fucking nuts too, because she's seeing her mother's ghost haunting in the hallway. So, she's like, oh my God, I'm just really upset. Everything's just going to shit. She's just having a terrible fucking week. And if you have family problems, I do not recommend this movie. Because I saw this movie with my mamas. Hi, Mom. Shout out to my mama. Hey. My mom is so beautiful. Look at her. I'm going to put a picture of her right here. Isn't she beautiful? That's my mommy. I love my mommy. But we have a very strained relationship with our family. So we would kind of like peep back and forth to each other like, like we can relate. So it's something to joke about, but sometimes you just gotta laugh through the pain. So yeah, Peter, like, he's totally into this one girl in school. He was checking out her booty crack in class. He's always smoking. Like, God, this boy was smoking when he got home. He was smoking before he left to go to school. He was smoking at school under the bleed. This boy was smoking all the fucking time. So the girl that he likes was like, oh, you should come to this party. He asked his mom, Annie. He asked Toni Collette, like, yo, can I go to the party? I really want to go. And she's like, well, you gonna bring your sister along? And he's like, fuck. He's like, I guess. Like, if you're gonna let me, use the car. She's just like, don't drink. And he's like, I'm not gonna drink. Because he wasn't drinking because he was smoking. That's such a good excuse. Like, no, I'm not gonna drink. Yeah, but he's just gonna smoke the house down. He didn't lie, though. He didn't drink. He just smoked. So he goes to this party, and this house was, like, this was one of them, like, interior designer type of houses. That shit was beautiful. I was like, I know this is not one of these high school students' freaking family homes. All these kids are out here drinking and shit. And I'm like, damn, where are all the parents at? My parents never let me have a fucking house party like that. Are you kidding me? That shit would be shut down. Where the cops would have been called in 2 seconds. That shit would have been shut the fuck down. So I'm surprised that they had this big ass freaking party. Sorry, I keep hitting the tripod. Okay, so at the party, Peter, he sees the girl. He's like, yo, I got some banging weed. She's like, okay, cool, come with me. So Charlie, she's shy. Like, she literally is like the only little girl at this party. I don't even know why the mom, Toni Collette, thought it was a good idea to invite her, because this is all kids that are his age, Peter's age. So there's gonna be no one there for Charlie. She's gonna be like lonely and shit. And she was lonely. Like, so I was like, that was stupid to like have him take her. Like, she's not gonna do anything. She's not gonna. I don't know. I would have kept her ass home. And he should have. And you find out like earlier, because Charlie, she's like always like eating chocolates and shit. Oh my God. Let me go back real quick. So Charlie, she makes these like models. I swear to God, I just heard some like whisper and shit in my ear. It might be the TV in the other room, but that shit was fucking scary. She makes these like toy models. Like, she makes like little dolls and shit, but she makes them from like twigs and trash. And she was in class making a toy, and this bird freaking came and hit the window, killed itself. So this girl, God love her, she goes outside, she picks up this dead bird and cuts its fucking head off and puts the head in her pocket. Unsupervised children. That is the main problem in all these horror movies I keep watching, is that these kids are unsupervised when crazy shit goes down. Where were the teachers? Where were the teachers when this girl was cutting off a bird's head and putting that shit in her pocket? Where? Unsupervised children. The number one cause of terrible instances in horror movie is unsupervised children. Supervise your kids, bitches. She has like a little tree house, and outside the house there's like a little tree house, and she's always up there. She sleeps up there all the time. She has all her dolls and shit, and she's always eating chocolate and candy. Like, this girl does nothing but eat chocolate. But the mom was asking the one time, she's like, there's no nuts in there, right? The dad asked, there's no nuts in there, right? So you find out that she's allergic to nuts. Back at the party, they were giving out chocolate cake. You see before that there were walnuts or some shit being put in the chocolate cake. So her brother Alex, I keep saying Alex, Peter, he's just trying to smoke pot. So he tells Charlie, like, oh, look, there's cake, go get cake. And she's like, I don't want to. He's like, no, go get cake. Like, just stand there and go get cake. So he goes off to go smoke pot. And this girl starts eating the cake with the nuts in it. So lo and behold, she starts going to anaphylactic shock. She can't breathe, you know, so she tries to get water. She's like, you know, her throat's swelling up or whatever, you know, what happens when you go into anaphylactic shock. She goes up to her brother and she's like, I really don't feel good. And she starts like really like bugging out. So he takes her ass and he friggin' has to drive her to the hospital. He's like, holy shit, like he's realizing what the hell's happening. Unsupervised children, people. Unsupervised children. And he, mind you, he just smoked, so you know his high was ruined. His high was fucking done. Like, oh, don't you hate that? Don't you hate that when you're getting a buzz on and then some crazy shit want to happen and just ruin that shit for you? So he's trying to drive her to the hospital. He gets in the car and he's speeding down. And the road is like this giant desert road. I think they're in like Colorado or something. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. They're like in the desert. So he's speeding down this road. He's going like super fucking fast, and she's in the back, like she cannot breathe. So she goes to stick her head out the window. You know, she puts it on the window. She sticks her head out the window. He doesn't notice that she's doing this. So while he's speeding, in the middle of the road, there's like a dead deer or there's like a dead animal carcass. He goes to swerve around it. While her head's out the window, he swerves around it, and there's a pole, like a telephone pole on the side of the road. Bam! It knocked her head clean the fuck off. Now, Alex Wolff, this is where you were so freaking good. Because he's just sitting there in the car, like, looking forward, like, and instead of driving to the police station or to the hospital, after, like, a long pause, he drives home. He drives home. He gets out of the car. And he goes and lays in bed. But the whole time, you can just see in his eyes, he's doing anything he can to not face the fact that that just happened. Her body is still in the car, decapitated. His little sister's body is in the car, decapitated. And he leaves the body in there because he doesn't want to face the truth. And then he goes to bed. He's still awake, and it's morning time, and then Annie goes to the car, and she finds her daughter's body. That shit was so intense. Yeah. Then it pans to, then it cuts to like another scene on the side of the road. Right next to the pole is Charlie's head. Her decapitated head, covered in these ants that are eating the flesh off her fucking face. What the fuck? Oh my god, it was so crazy. It was so crazy. So, the makeup, the special effects people who made the prosthetic for that head, though, beautiful fucking job. Because that shit was so, it was hard to look at. It really was hard to look at. So they did a good job. I'm all into like face-off and look. I'm not a makeup person. I don't know how to do makeup. I don't know how to do special effects. I know how to do basic Halloween shit. So I love like, you know, I like sci-fi's face-off and shit like that. I follow a lot of makeup effects people online. I love what they can make. And that was so realistic and it was so disturbing to look at. They did a good job. So then Annie at this point is just losing her shit. Like, she just lost her mom. Now her daughter's dead. She's just, you could tell like she doesn't talk to her son really. It's obvious that she low-key blames him. They start kind of sensing Charlie is like around the house because they hear the Alyssa Edwards, you know. But Annie goes back to the support group, and then she meets Joan, who's played by Ann Dowd. If you don't know who Ann Dowd is, watch The Handmaid's Tale and watch HBO's The Leftovers. So then Annie and Joan like develop this like kind of friendship. You know, she reveals to Joan, she goes to Joan's apartment, She sees like the pillow on the ground. She's like, oh, my mom used to make stuff like that. And Joan's like, oh, what a coincidence. At this point, should be piecing shit together. So then she goes inside and she reveals, how she's had a strained relationship with her kids. How the one time she used to sleepwalk. She woke up in the middle of the night with her son and her daughter covered in fucking, what were they covered in? In paint thinner with a match in her hand, about to light them bitches on fire. So she's like revealing, like, oh my god, like crazy shit's been going on. And now ever since her daughter passed away, her relationship with her son is just terrible. She meets Joan because her son and her grandson passed away. So she reveals to Annie that she learned how to do a seance from a guy, from a book, a guy who showed her a book, and how she can communicate with it. It's like you get a glass, put your hand on the glass, and you have to have like an item that is, symbolic to the deceased, and then try to reach out to them. So, she has Annie with her while she tries to talk to her grandson, and it happens. She starts talking to her grandson, so Annie's like, oh my god, like, I can't believe this is happening. And then Joan's like, well, if you want to try to talk to Charlie, this is what you have to do. Say these words, make sure your family's in the house when you're doing it, and light the candle, and have an object that is symbolic to her. She wakes up Peter one night, and she wakes up her husband one night, and she's like, yo, like, I contacted Charlie. I mean, like, the dad was very skeptical at first, but the son was, like, bugging out because he really believed it, because he's been experiencing shit, too. So it looked like Annie got possessed by Charlie at this one point. She starts speaking like Charlie, and Peter's crying, like, he's bugging the fuck out. So the dad's like, you need to stop this. Like, you need to stop. This is not cool. So she wakes up, and she has no recollection of what just happened. Another night, the notebook that Charlie used to draw pictures in, it starts drawing by itself, and was drawing pictures of Peter, like, dead and shit. So Annie suspects that this spirit is now malevolent. Like, oh my god, this isn't even Charlie. She just throws her drawing book into the fire. But when she does, Annie's arm starts catching on fire. So she's like, holy fuck. So she grabs the notebook out of the fireplace, and then the fire goes away. So it's kind of saying that, you can't destroy the notebook, or else you're gonna burn alive too, bitch. Like, that's what you get for starting shit. Or fuck with none of that paranormal shit. And then there were these weird parts, like, during the movie where there's, like, when Peter was in school, like, a random, like, burst of light would just, like, go through his classroom and in the hallway in the school. And this burst of light you see multiple times in the movie. I didn't really understand. I guess it was supposed to be, like, the spirit of Charlie. But it was, I don't know. So after the fireplace incident, Annie tries to go back to Joan. But Joan is nowhere to be found. Like, she's not even in her apartment. Like, the door's locked. They zoom into the apartment. Everything's like a wreck. On the table, there's this giant, like, triangle, and there's a picture of fucking Peter in the middle of the triangle. And on the walls, there's these, like, symbols. The grandmother had a necklace that she gave to her daughter with the symbol on it. And this is the same symbol that is now painted all over Joan's apartment. This is the same symbol that was on top of a bunch of notebooks and shit that were in Ellen's personal belongings that are up in the workroom that Annie now works in. And this symbol was on the pole when Charlie got her head decapitated. So you put that two and two together, like, this is, like, a symbol, this is bad. This symbol means something, this is probably some satanic type of bullshit. Turns out you're right. She goes back, and she starts looking through the photo books and shit, and she sees pictures of her mother chilling with Joan. First of all, I feel like I've seen this before. That is where I'm going to critique this movie. I'm like, should have saw that coming, Like, obviously, she reached out to you in your time of misery. Of course she had something to do with this. You pretty much piece together that her mom, Ellen, was part of this cult, and that's what the symbol is. And she feels like the spirit or whatnot is now coming after her son. It already took her daughter, and now he's using the daughter as kind of like, they use the daughter to be welcomed into the house, so now the spirit's trying to get Peter because he keeps drawing pictures of Peter dead. Annie goes up into the attic one day. She goes up into the attic and finds, because mind you, remember when I said in the beginning how her mother's grave a week later was desecrated? Her mom's body is up in this fucking attic with no head on, with blood on the wall of the same fucking crazy ass symbol of whatever demon this is. At this point, you need to get the fuck out of the house. This is the point in my life where I'm gonna be like, I need to get the fuck up out of here. I don't know why they did it. Peter, he's back in school. Who the fuck? He sees a vision of Joan. Joan says she's like yelling at something at him. I guess she like put a curse on him or something. because like he's in the classroom and he like has like this moment of like he's like possessed and shit, and he's like, boom, and starts like banging his fucking head on the desk, and the class is just like bugging the fuck out, and he wakes up covered in blood, like This is great acting. Alex Wolff, you did so good. You were so fucking good. And he's trying to piece all this shit together. Steve, the dad, he picks up the son from school. So he comes home with the son, and Annie's like, oh my god, what happened? You know, he's like, just take him to bed and shit. So, you know, she's trying to be like, yo, I think my mom placed a curse on this family. It's a hereditary curse. She's like, I think she possessed Charlie when Charlie was younger, and now she's trying to get my son. Because mind you, remember when Charlie said earlier that, you know, Grandma always wanted me to be a boy? I think they were trying to bring Charlie back into Peter's body. Right, some like crazy freaking shit. So Steve doesn't want to hear this shit. He's like, nah, fuck that. He's like, take this notebook, take all the shit and burn it. She's like, I can't, please. She's like, please, you need to do it. Toni Collette was so good. She's like, please, like, I can't do this. Like, you need to do it. You need to do it. He's like, I'm not gonna do it. She's just like, fine, I'm gonna do it. So she throws the notebook into the fire, and Steve lights on fucking fire. Steve, head to toe, burns to a crisp. Like nothing. Like fucking nothing. And then the light comes in, and then Annie's like possessed. She's like... He wakes up in the middle of the night. Nobody's around. He's walking through this dark-ass house. Oh my god, it was so creepy. This was really creepy. He's walking through the house and stuff, and then he goes down. You know, he notices that the grandma's room was open. Then he notices Charlie's room was open. He's like, oh my god. He goes into the room where the fireplace is, and he sees the charred body. He walks up to it. He sees the wedding ring. He knows that it's his dad. But if you look in the background when he's looking, fucking Toni Collette is up in the top corner, like, chilling. Like, some creepy ass fucking... No, wait. No. Back up. Backtrack. When he wakes up in his room, she was chilling there in the fucking room at first on top. And then this bitch, like, swims away. She's like... Like, she literally dog paddled out of the fucking room. That shit was creepy as shit. So then when he finds the body later, the dad's body downstairs, that's when she's up on the ceiling again, too. So he looks up, and this bitch is like... No, he doesn't even notice her at first. Wait, what am I talking about? He doesn't notice her at first. He looks into the room. He looks into, like, the doorway into the room next door. The smiling man that I brought up earlier, that guy that was smiling at the funeral when he was behind Charlie, he walks in. He's, like, in the doorway, like, but he's butt-ass naked. He's butt-ass naked. And so Peter's like, the fuck? And then the mom just charges at him, like, ah! So Peter takes off. He's like, fuck this, ah! So he's running. She's hauling ass after him. He runs right up into the fucking attic. And then shuts the attic door. And she's, like, on top of, like, she's, like, upside down. Like, so picture, like, here's, like, where the attic door is. She's, like, right here, like, banging her head against the fucking door. Like, wow, wow, wow. Like, up on the ceiling, banging her head against the attic fucking door. So while he's up in the attic, he looks around, and then more of these naked people just start showing up. He's like, what the fuck is going on? He looks up, and now Annie is in the attic. She's levitated again, and she has this, like, wire, and she starts cutting off her fucking... She's just like... You know, she's, like, cutting off her fucking head. So Peter's, like, looking around, like, you know, there's these possessed people, there's some crazy witch shit, satanic shit going on. My mother's really up on the ceiling cutting off her fucking head. Fuck this, he jumps out the window and commits suicide. Well, you think he does. Yeah, he does. He jumped out the window, he committed suicide. So then Peter wakes up, and he's, like, in this, like, daze... And he notices Annie's body, like, it was so creepy. She just, like, levitates. And then up into Charlie's treehouse. So then Peter walks over to the treehouse. And he's just like, the fuck, you know. In the woods, like, when he's walking to the treehouse in the woods, there's more of the naked people. Why are they all naked? They're all fucking naked. He's seeing more of these naked people. So he keeps walking. And he walks up into the treehouse. And then it's just a group of people. Joan's there. She's naked, too. And then it's the bodies of his mother and his grandmother with no heads kneeling in front of this statue of this demon that I guess they're worshiping. And on top of the head of this demon statue is Charlie's fucking head that was eaten by all the fucking ants and shit. With a crown on it. So Joan comes up to him like, It's okay, Charlie. Well, it's not Charlie now. She calls him something else, like whatever the demon's name is. She's like, you're here now. So she takes the crown off the dead corpse head, puts it on his head, and they all go, praise Satan, or whatever his name is. Payman. His name is Payman, the demon. They're like, hail Payman! Hail Payman! So apparently, Charlie now comes back, and now she's possessing her brother's body, but she's not Charlie, she's the demon. And that was the end of the movie. All in all, the movie itself was filmed amazingly. This is top-notch freaking directing. So Mr. Ari Aster, you were brilliant. Your scenes looked really good. Excuse me. The set design was really good, because all throughout the house was like the little miniature houses and stuff. So I really thought that was kind of cool. There were like a bunch of houses inside of a big house. It was really creative. She had this like one like giant pillar of like different houses on top of each other. It was just really brilliant. Whoever made those is really fucking talented, and I was set. The house was beautiful too. It was like in the middle of the woods. This big like wood, this big freaking house. Kind of had like a wood feel too. It was like kind of like a giant cabin type of house, but not really a cabin. I don't know. The set design was really beautiful. The set design was really beautiful. The directing was great. The acting. Now, I'm going to tell you all right now, the acting in this movie was top-notch. Toni Collette killed it. Toni Collette fucking killed it. I don't know what we're going to see in the future or for the rest of the year, but that's worthy of an Oscar nominee, in my opinion. She gave me so much feeling and emotion and just face. And it was so believable. I love Toni Collette, but this one was really fucking good. Just seeing her in this horror movie was absolutely astounding. Alex Wolff, I applaud you too, because you were... I would never think in a million years that the kids that were on that stupid TV show on Nickelodeon would come back and be so freaking talented. They were, and I'm so excited to see what he's got to offer in the future, because he was so good. That's worthy of a supporting nomination, in my opinion. And then what was her name? Millie Shapiro? Charlie, she was so adorable. That poor little girl. They put Charlie through so much hell. Like they did terrible things to her. Yeah, Millie Shapiro, she was adorable. I can't wait to see if she's going to do more in the future. But yeah, the acting was just top freaking notch. Now, this movie has been compared to The Exorcist. All these advertisements are saying it's this generation's Exorcist, this, that, and the third. Now, the movie was great. It was filmed amazingly. I've said that 10 times already. Now, the biggest critique that I'm going to give this movie is the fact that it wasn't scary. It wasn't scary. I was not scared. I mean, I was freaked out at some points, but I wasn't really scared. It didn't have jump out scares, and I get it. This age, when it comes to horror, we don't need jump scares. Too many jump scares is kind of hokey. I get that. I'm all for, setting the mood, making everything feel uneasy, more of like psychological fear than just jump scare fear. But if you're going to make a horror movie, make it scary. It wasn't scary. So these advertisements that keep comparing it to The Exorcist is known as one of the scariest movies of all time. Now, of course, it's not as scary as it used to be. But to compare it to, you're putting it on a pedestal, comparing it to a movie that is so iconic that when people see that you're calling it the modern age Exorcist, when I go into this movie, I'm expecting the scariest shit I've ever seen in my life. I didn't. It wasn't scary. So I think advertisers and all these commercials and stuff, we need to stop doing that. We need to stop releasing these movies, especially horror movies, and comparing them to stuff. If it's a slasher movie, they're like, oh, it's this generation's the scariest movie since Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the scariest movie since The Exorcist, the scariest movie since Psycho, the scariest movie since like The Shining. They keep doing that. Like, stop doing that. Stop putting these movies on a pedestal. And because when I see it, I'm going in with expectations now, and I don't need to go into a movie, especially a horror movie, with expectations, because when you do that, 99.9% of the time, you get let down. So I didn't watch any trailers previously. I tried to, stay away from watching any type of review or any clips on, Instagram or social media. But the fact that I did hear they were comparing it to The Exorcist. They were saying it's the scariest movie of the year and the scariest movie in decades. It wasn't. That's just my honest opinion. It wasn't the scariest movie. At that point, it should have added a little. It had scenes where they were so beautiful and they were so well executed in building up suspense. It didn't push it. It needed to give a little bit more to really put you over the edge. It didn't do that. They didn't go there. I wish they did, because they would have made the movie 10 times better. But I'm not going to take away from the production value, the fact that it was shot beautifully, the sets were beautiful, and the acting was A++ top notch. I will not take that away from this movie. It deserves all the high scores that it's getting on different critiques and from critics' reviews and shit. It deserves all that, but it needed a little bit more for me. That's just how I feel. But it's definitely on my better side of horror movies that have been out this year so far. Almost definitely. It was so freaking good. It was good. It was a good movie. It just wasn't scary. Is that, when you're a horror movie, you gotta be scary, But other than that, what else am I trying to say here? All in all, there's still a lot of movies that I haven't seen yet that I've heard are pretty good. I still haven't seen A Quiet Place yet, and I heard similar things about that. That it's it's not scary, but it's just a good movie in general. And I like how we're going with horror with that. We had a whole decade in the 2000s where we were just getting kind of reboots, remakes, and then B-rated horror movies with just tons of jump scares to get to really just get the factor that were good the first time you watch it, but then you watch it over and over again and you're over it. I like how now we're kind of transitioning horror into this more of they don't need to be scary, they're just good movies. For example, The Witch wasn't scary, but it was really freaking good, even last year with Get Out. Get Out freaking won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay for Jordan Peele. It was nominated for Oscars. It was a horror movie. Was it scary? No. It had a lot of shocking scenes that were holy shit, but it wasn't scary. So horror's kind of just transitioned into it's matured, I feel like. Horror is really maturing into the genre that we can see these movies and appreciate them for how well they're made, as opposed to just being a cheap B-rated horror movie that's just trying to get a bunch of scares and make a little bit of money. These directors are actually putting in work and they're taking pride in these movies, and I love that, because horror gets so much shit because you think of horror movie, you're oh, it's just trying to be scary. These movies are actually good, and I like that. And I like how we're seeing directors step out of the box, showcase these movies, and then now they're moving on to do bigger things. Like James Wan, who did The Conjuring, did Saw, did Silence, Insidious. Now he's about to direct Aquaman. He did one of the Fast and Furious movies. He's being taken as a serious director now. David F. Sandberg, who did Annabelle Creation and Lights Out, he's doing Shazam. He's probably going to end up doing more serious stuff now too. So for this directorial debut for Ari Aster, I can tell he's going to go do more films, and I'm excited to see what else he has to offer. It doesn't have to be horror. He was just doing really good. It doesn't have to be horror. He has good vision, and he knows how to shoot things. I enjoyed watching the movie. I enjoyed seeing some of these scenes and how they transitioned and how well they were shot. He has a good eye, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. So, we'll just have to keep waiting and seeing, We're halfway through the year. This is definitely one of the top horror movies of the year by far, but scary-wise, it's not the scariest movie ever made. It's not the scariest movie ever made. So don't believe anyone when they tell you this is the scariest movie ever made. It's not. That's complete bullshit. It's not. But go into it with an open mind. You know, the cult thing, we've been there, we've done it. Family issue movies, we've been there, we've done it. It's funny. I actually just watched Rosemary's Baby last night. I haven't seen Rosemary's Baby since I was a kid, so watching it now is like more of an adult who studies film. I really appreciated it more. And the same thing I critique that, I mean, that I praise for that is just like how well the directing was, you know, how well the shots were shot. It was very similar to Hereditary, which, you know, I'm surprised they're comparing it to The Exorcist. I think it was more similar to Rosemary's Baby, especially the scene where Mia Farrow, you know, she's getting raped by the devil and everyone's around her naked. I noticed that and I was like, holy shit, that's kind of similar to the naked satanic cult in Hereditary. I think it should have probably been more. I think they should have compared it more to Rosemary's Baby than The Exorcist. But I get it. It's all like the devil, all our satanic type of films and stuff. But we also got to stop comparing movies. Stop comparing movies. Just appreciate a movie for what it is. And if you go in to see Hereditary with no expectations, don't know anything about the plot, just go into it with an open mind, you will enjoy this movie. I promise you. That being said, I think I'm good. I don't think there's really anything else I need to touch base on. If there's anything that I forgot to mention, if there was a scene that you really liked, if you agree, if you disagree with what I have to say, comment below. Let's talk about it. Listen, I don't care. Y'all can hate on me all y'all you want, give me dislikes. I really don't give a shit. I'm still doing my movies, and this is my opinion. We are all entitled to our opinions. So let me know what you guys think. You know, if you like it, please give me a like. You can share, subscribe to my channel. We're always going to be talking about movies, especially horror stuff. I still have to go see, what's it called, A Quiet Place. I don't know if I'll do a review on that because it's kind of been a few months now, but maybe. We'll see. Yeah, so like, comment, subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at Andrew the Filmmaker. And until next time, I'll see you guys. Bye-bye.